Intestinal dysbiosis, decreased butyric secreting organisms, increased permeability, changes in the bile acid pool, decrease in the bile acid catabolism, increase in the production of branch-side amino acids, increased chain of amino acids which will be producing insulin resistance. So, absence of gut microbiota which are very good for internal milieu, they will be producing insulin resistance, leaky gut syndrome, and the decreased immunomodulation, thereby producing exorbitant insulin resistance and production of the diabetic milieu. This can be mitigated by the prudent use of what we call it as prebiotic and probiotics and good dietary fibers. The prebiotics are the food to the probiotics. Probiotics are living organism which will substitute the deficient organism in the gut. So, naturally occurring prebiotic and probiotic, you have to know tomatoes, artichokes, onions, garlic, chicory, dandelion greens, asparagus, leeks, berries, bananas, flaxseed, legumes, and pitta, white or red of this dragon fruit. They are very good prebiotics and probiotics. Probiotics, when you come here in the naturally occurring probiotics, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, yogurt, cottage cheese, and miso soup, and all the fermented bread, which we call it as sauerkraut, and this bread all will help for preservation of probiotics. So when the prebiotics and probiotics join together, we call it as symbiotic. So prebiotics, probiotics, symbiotics are heavily available nowadays for usage along with the regular treatment of diabetes mellitus. Microbiota metabolites like short chain fatty acids, strong influence in diabetes mellitus. Though there are various relations with the host metabolism impact on several pathways. There is a bidirectional relation whether the diabetes mellitus impairs gut diversity or robustness, or the gut dysbiosis produces the diabetic milieu.
So there are a lot of
ongoing research is going on. There's going to be a couple of international conferences, one in Venice, another one is in Japan, and in October, November. And in our own country, AIG Hospital of Hyderabad, under the head of Dr. Nageswar Reddy, is doing a lot of research on the gut microbiota, which will be paving way for future therapeutic arsenal.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the organizers for having invited me to deliver this talk on very important topic of today and today's world. We have just finished a sumptuous lunch. I would like to ask how many of us looked at what we ate? How many of us looked at what was minimally processed, whether it was processed food or was it an ultra processed food? My previous speaker just now explained so well that the microbiota is the cause, or maybe the one of the causes for insulin resistance and also diabetes, and I am going to talk about more on this subject. So when you look at this picture, don't you feel sorry that the first man and today's man with Coca-Cola, modern humans affected by obesity epidemic? That's what we are facing today. So the overview of my talk would be I would first describe the understanding of what food is, what is ultra processing, and etc. Then next is how to identify different types of foods based on processing levels. The next would be health impacts associated with high consumption of ultra processed foods, and how to reduce consumption of UPFs, and also what we can do. So coming to the definitions, processed foods are any foods that have been altered from their natural state through the various methods like washing, cutting, cooking, canning, freezing, or adding any ingredients such as preservatives, flavorings, or nutrients. This alteration can range from minimal processing like washing vegetables and to more extensive processing like making ready to eat meals. So examples of minimally processed foods are fresh berries, cut vegetables and roasted nuts, which are simply prepared for convenience to eat. Foods processed at their peak of ripeness to lock in the nutritional quality and freshness include canned tomatoes, tuna fish, frozen fruits or vegetables. Then there are also the highly processed foods with ingredients added for flavoring and changing the texture of the food. In other words, the matrix of the food, the content is different. It is not the same as the original matrix of the content. So that is called highly processed food. Now coming to the NOVA classification, when I was preparing this talk, I was really surprised to see that there is a classification called NOVA classification for different types of foods that we have. The number 1 is minimally processed food, number 2 is processed for culinary ingredients, and then third, group 3 is processed foods, and group 4 is ultra processed foods. I will come to the various types. Group 1, minimally processed foods. These are foods that undergone processes such as cutting, freezing, cleaning and pasteurizing. Okay? So that do not substantially alter the nutritional composition. For example, fresh fruits, vegetables, milk, whole grains that are only cleaned or packaged without changing the substance. These are examples. These are culinary ingredients, are ingredients which are necessary for our food to make it tastier, to make it edible. Example are sugar, oil and butter from milk, ground spices, salted butter, iodized salt and vinegar. So these are the culinary ingredients and they are known as processed culinary ingredients, but we use them in a small quantity. Processed culinary foods are ingredients that have been slightly altered from their natural state to be used in the cooking. So these are not typically consumed on their own, but are added to the other foods to enhance flavor, texture and appearance. They are derived from whole foods through the process like pressing, refining, grinding, milling or spray drying. Now added to dishes, these are components in the cooking, not usually eaten on their own. Purpose is to create more varied dishes and bring about a change in our day-to-day diets. So these are the examples that are mentioned there: fats and oils, sweeteners, flour and grains, seasonings, and these are the examples of processed culinary ingredients. Now coming to the group 3, these are processed foods which are more than minimally processed, but they are processed but not highly processed. So these are usually prepared from group 1 foods by adding sugar, oil or salt. They are preserved, pickled, salted or fermented. As my previous speaker said, fermented foods are good, they can be probiotics, so they are also required for us in smaller quantities. Now coming to the most important group, and that is ultra processed foods. Ultra processed foods are usually made in factories. At least one ingredients we don't use or rarely in domestic kitchen. The example are carbonating, firming, whipping, bulking and anti-bulking, defoaming, etc. As you can see on the side of my slide, that these are all the ultra processed foods which are very easily available and in plenty around us. So ultra processed foods are industrial formulations typically containing little or no whole foods. They are designed to be hyper palatable and convenient. Okay? So they often include additives such as preservatives and flavor enhancers. The common examples are soft drinks, packaged snacks and fast foods of all kinds. So eating processed foods occasionally is fine. Okay? So however, look for hidden sugars, fat and salt, especially those added during the processing. So every time you eat a processed food, you please look at the content. So most nutrition facts labels are now include added sugars. So look for maltose, brown sugar, corn syrup, honey and fruit juice concentrates. If they are among the first 5 contents, then please do not accept that and please do not eat it. So as I already said, salt, sugar, oils and other ingredients which are used in the ultra processing types. So what are the characteristics of the ultra UPFs? So UPFs are heavily promoted through various media channels, so usually advertised, then celebrity endorsed, ready to eat and consume, convenient for today's youngsters particularly. They buy the ready to eat food and then microwave it in the evening and eat. So pitched as anytime, anywhere foods and designed to be over consumed. So what is the mechanisms of ultra processing of foods and their links to the health outcomes? We just had a talk about dysbiosis of the gut. So ultra processing foods are industrial formulations with ingredients rarely used in the kitchen, have an average higher energy density of 2.3 versus 1.1 kilocalories per gram, and they are lower in nutrient density than minimally processed foods. So high in saturated fat, added sugar and sodium, and then greater intakes of total energy, free sugars, total and saturated fat are more, lower intakes of fiber, protein and some micronutrients as well. So high palatability promotes a faster eating rate and energy over consumption with daily energy intake. Frozen, pre-chopped and canned ingredients, they save time in the kitchen. The fortified foods provide important nutrients sometimes which are not available in the foods that we eat. So and all the processing, even ultra processing, retain the proteins naturally throughout the processing, and others such as B vitamins and iron may be added back if they are lost during the processing. So that has to be taken care. Now cons are, we already said. Now coming to there is a rapid nutrition transition, urbanization, transition, global food availability and affordability of food products. Because of that, there is a greatest transition, that is fastest transition that is happening especially in our country. One cannot think well, love well, sleep well if one has not dined well. This is what we follow Indians. We Indians take this seriously, and we, for every occasion that we have, which we do, there is no lack of occasions for us, and food is the main item in our festivals. Indian foods, be it any part of India, any season, any festival, any occasion or any family gathering, food please. So this is what we follow. And high intake Indian foods are again drivers of obesity, not only diabetes. High intake of sugars, intake of soft drinks, meat, sweets and fried foods, high fat intake and high intake of carbohydrates. So what is the link to obesity? UPFs tend to be energy dense and low in fiber, leads to overconsumption. Several large scale studies have found that high consumption of UPFs is associated with excess total calorie intake and weight gain. So this is sure. So satiety and eating patterns change the moment a person gets used to the ultra processed foods. They are engineered to promote rapid eating and reduce satiety signals. So this will lead to overconsumption and over the course of the day. So throughout the day, we even when he is watching the phone, he is eating a ultra processed food. So this is a study done with the inpatients, where one group of inpatients was given ultra processed foods and the other unprocessed diet, and they found clearly that the red is ultra processed food and the blue is ultra processed food and the red is unprocessed food, and there was definitely weight gain as well as obesity. Weight gain, ultra processed caused increased libitum energy intake, and weight gain despite being matched to the unprocessed diet for presented calories, sugar, fat, sodium